Right now, as you're listening to this, the money in your account is being redesigned. Not by you, not by your bank, but by the people who control the system itself. And what they're building will change everything about how you spend, save, and live. The question isn't whether it's coming. The question is, will you see it coming? To understand what's about to happen, we need to go back. Not years, centuries. Because this moment didn't emerge from nowhere. It's the final stage of a pattern that started the moment governments realized they could control money itself. And every empire that walked this path believed the same thing. This time, we'll get it right. This time, we'll have perfect control. This time, nobody can escape. They were wrong, and we're about to find out why. Let me take you to Rome, 235 AD. The empire felt invincible. Gold coins clinked in merchant hands. Trade flowed across 3 continents. The system was perfect, or so they thought. But beneath the surface, something was breaking. The military was bleeding money. Wars were expensive. Borders were crumbling. So the emperors made a choice. A desperate choice. They ordered the mints to debase the currency. They reduced the silver content of coins from 50% to just 5% over 50 years. Source: When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson. Nobody announced it. Nobody asked permission. They simply changed the rules while everyone was playing the game. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Merchants still accepted the coins. Prices stayed stable. Life went on, but then something shifted. Merchants started demanding more coins for the same goods. Prices doubled, then tripled. Within a generation, a wheelbarrow of coins couldn't buy bread. People who had saved their entire lives watched their wealth evaporate overnight. And here's what makes this crucial. The government blamed the merchants. They called it greed. They passed price controls. They made it illegal to refuse the debased currency. Sound familiar? Your rent increased 40% in 5 years. Your salary increased 3%. That gap, that's debasement in real time. Source: U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 2024. But Rome's mistake didn't die with the empire. Fast forward to 1923 Germany. The Weimar Republic faced a different crisis: war debt from World War I. Massive debt. Impossible debt. So they made the same choice Rome made. Print more money. Just create it out of nothing. By November 1923, the German mark was worthless. A loaf of bread that cost 160 marks in January cost 200 billion marks by December. Source: Bundesbank Historical Records. One specific story captures this perfectly. Johann was a schoolteacher. He had spent 40 years saving, 40 years. His life's work sat in a bank account. In November 1923, with his savings, he could buy exactly 1 loaf of bread. 1. His entire life of discipline, sacrifice, and restraint erased in months by government policy he never voted for and couldn't control. What breaks your heart about that story? It's not the number. It's powerlessness. He watched it happen and couldn't stop it. Notice the pattern? Rome debased currency through metallic reduction. Germany debased it through printing. Different methods, same result. Same human suffering. Same people losing everything while the system protected itself. This pattern didn't end in 1923. It repeated in 1970s Britain, where the pound lost 70% of its purchasing power in a decade. Source: Bank of England Historical Data. It repeated in 1980s Argentina. It repeated in 1990s Japan, where retirees watched their life savings shrink as the government inflated away their purchasing power. Source: Japanese Ministry of Finance. And it's repeating right now in America, where your dollars are worth 18% less than they were in 2020. Source: U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI Adjustment, 2024. But here's what's different this time. Here's what should terrify you, or at least inform you deeply. Previous governments couldn't track every transaction. They couldn't stop you from using cash. They couldn't see where your money went or prevent you from moving it. You had one final escape: the physical currency in your hand. That friction, that opacity, that untraceable cash in your wallet, it was your last defense against total control. And now governments are about to eliminate it. Welcome to the central bank digital dollar, the CBDC. What is it exactly? It's not just digital money. Digital money already exists. Every number in your bank account is digital. Every credit card purchase is digital. No, this is something fundamentally different. A CBDC is money created, controlled, and tracked directly by the Federal Reserve, not by banks, the Fed itself. And it has capabilities that previous money never had. With a CBDC, every single transaction you make is recorded by the government. Not by your bank, they're just the middleman. By the Federal Reserve, your grocery purchase, your gas, your medications, your donations, your political activities, all visible, all trackable, all stored in a permanent, unchangeable ledger. Source: Federal Reserve White Paper on CBDCs, 2023. They're calling it transparency. They're calling it preventing crime. They're calling it financial stability. But let's be clear about what it actually is. It's visibility. Perfect, total visibility into every financial choice you make. And there's a feature that makes this even more significant: programmability. With a CBDC, the government doesn't just see your transactions, they can control them. A CBDC can be programmed with an expiration date. Spend this money by December 31st or it disappears. Gone. This was explicitly discussed in academic papers on CBDC design, and policies were proposed in some countries. A CBDC can be programmed with geographic restrictions. You can only spend this money in approved locations. You can't buy certain items. Alcohol, restricted. Ammunition, restricted. Gas, only if you're deemed essential. Source: Proposed CBDC policies discussed in central bank research papers. This isn't science fiction. This is already being designed, already being discussed, already being tested. Why would they do this? Let's trace the logic. First, they blame inflation on you. Inflation is caused by spending, they'll say, so they'll limit how much you can spend. Next, they'll blame climate change on consumption, so they'll restrict which purchases are allowed. Then they'll notice tax evasion, so they'll eliminate cash entirely and tax every transaction in real time. Finally, they'll discover that if they can control the money, they can control behavior. And once you have that power, the temptation becomes irresistible. History shows this pattern repeatedly. When Rome had complete control over currency debasement, they used it not to help people, but to fund armies and ensure compliance. When Weimar had complete control over the printing press, they used it to wage war and then to hide the consequences. When modern governments have complete control over financial systems, they don't use it for your benefit. They use it to expand their own power. But here's the moment we're actually in. Right now, as of November 2024, several central banks are piloting CBDCs. The European Central Bank is testing the digital euro. The Chinese government has already launched the digital yuan, and it comes with built-in expiration dates and spending restrictions. Source: Bank for International Settlements CBDC Tracker, 2024. The Federal Reserve has been quietly developing a digital dollar for 3 years. They're not rushing. They're building infrastructure. And when it launches, they'll offer it as an upgrade. More secure, they'll say. Instant transactions, they'll promise. Protection from crime, they'll guarantee. And most people will accept it because they won't see what they're giving up until it's gone. So let's connect this to your actual life right now. Your household budget tells a story. Your grocery bill has doubled since 2020. Source: USDA Price Index 2024. Your rent has increased 50% in major cities. Source: Zillow Rent Index 2024. Your student loan payments have become impossible. The average payment is $503 per month, while median rent is $1,800. One paycheck gone. Source: Federal Student Aid Data 2024. Your healthcare costs have risen 30%, even as coverage decreased. Source: Kaiser Family Foundation 2024. Your savings account earns 0.5% interest, while inflation is running 3.2%. Source: Federal Reserve Rate Data, November 2024. You're losing purchasing power every single day. And here's where CBDCs become the final trap. Right now, you have options. You can withdraw cash and keep it physically safe. You can move your money to different banks. You can hold gold or cryptocurrency. You have friction, yes. You have inconveniences, yes. But you have a choice. With a CBDC, choice disappears. The government controls the entire system. They see everything. They can restrict anything. They can freeze accounts without trial. They can prevent you from spending on things they've decided are harmful. And because there's no cash backup, you can't escape it. Ask yourself, if your government could see and control every purchase you make, and they had demonstrated a history of using that power to benefit themselves, would you trust them? Rome didn't protect citizens from debasement. They used it to concentrate wealth. Weimar didn't use inflation to help the poor. They used it to escape debt. Modern governments don't use financial controls to empower people. They use them to maintain power. The pattern is clear. The timeline is compressing. The question isn't if CBDCs are coming. The question is whether you'll wake up before they arrive and lock you into a system you can't escape. Here's what matters in this moment. You're watching history repeat in real time. An empire facing economic pressure, debt, deficits, inflation, is reaching for the same tool every fallen empire reached for. Complete control over the money supply. Complete visibility into citizen finances. Complete ability to restrict behavior through financial manipulation. 5 empires made this choice. All 5 eventually collapsed. Each believed they were different. Each believed their system was special. Each believed their control was justified. Each believed they had safeguards. They were all wrong. So here's my question for you. When did you first notice things changing? Was it the grocery store? Was it your rent payment? Was it watching your savings lose value? You felt it before you understood it. And now you understand it? The pattern is real. The history is documented. The future is being built right now. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you accept the digital currency when it arrives? Will you understand what you're accepting? Will you see the difference between convenience and control? Will you recognize the final stage of the pattern, or will we, like every empire before us, convince ourselves that this time is different? Thank you for listening this far. If this made you really think about the relationship between money, power, and freedom, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.